Hello, boys and girls. I'm Ryan. You can call me Splash. You are live with U Stadium. Every year, the NFL players compile a list of the top 100 players. Objectively, it's a suspect list that tends to overrate skill positions and underrate the trenches. Here's my attempt at a better list. Is it perfect? Probably not. This is my third year of doing this, but this is my first live stream unveiling. Before now, just 3 people know the top 100. Shout out to Alex from U Stadium and Jeremy from Primetime Sports Talk. Before we start, let's lay out some ground rules. This is not a predictive list. There's no rookies. And by the same token, this is not a list purely from 2020. So you'll see a handful of players who had down years or missed the entire year last season. This is closer to a Madden rating than anything else. So sticking with Madden for a minute, these players represent 94 overall and above if you evenly distributed every player in the NFL, all 1,700 of them, from 0 overall to 99 overall. So these are the cream of the crop. With that said, feel free to post your comments, questions, and or concerns in the chat. I'm going to answer comments after each 10-player segment. I'm doing 50 players, 100 to 51. So every 10, I'll go back through, answer any questions in the chat. So if you think a player is too high, say something. If you think a player is too low, say something. I'm going to try to explain everything, but just let me know. If you love our content, we are now accepting donations via Super Chat and Super Sticker and Venmo. So if you love our stuff, you can support us, and we really appreciate it here at U Stadium. Make sure to like the stream, subscribe to the channel. You can follow us at U Stadium on Twitter and at U Stadium on Instagram. And you can follow my personal accounts at Mr. Splashman19 on both Twitter and Instagram. I'm going to try to move through the players in a timely manner. I try to respect your time. If I do 3 minutes per player for these 50, that's an hour and a half or 2.5 hours. Don't have any interest in doing that. So with this intro, I get a sore throat. You guys get burned out of your drums. So let's get into it. Again, this show will encompass players 100 to 51. Sunday, which is the 29th, I'll be back for the top 50. And now that I have sufficiently wasted your time, everyone, let's get into number 100 with Mr. Antonio Brown. Oh, there's number 100 to 51. Why is Antonio Brown here? Well, from a production standpoint, he really has no business being here, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that. As you can see, only had 483 yards, only played 8 games, not even a 1,000-yard pace. But the things that Antonio Brown does on a football field warrant his spot here. He was 44 in 2019. He wasn't on the list last year because he didn't play in 2019, but the one game with New England. He has an argument of being the best wide receiver on this team. He might be the single best offensive player on Tampa. And Tampa, I'll just spoiler, they have a lot of guys on this list. He might be the single best, the single best player out of all of them. So just put that into perspective, that this is a team loaded with guys that should be all pros moving forward. And this is a team that has as many Pro Bowl caliber guys as anyone in the NFL, anyone I've ever seen in 15 years of watching the NFL. This is a loaded team. Antonio Brown might be the best player out of the group. So wide receiver 19 or 20, I forget how many exactly, but absolute star talent, would be the number 1 wide receiver on most teams in the NFL. And there's a solid argument he's the number 1 wide receiver on this team with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Just have some random stats up here. 85.8 PFF grade last year, pretty solid. 4th all-time in receiving yards per game. Antonio Brown is a menace to society, and I wish I'd appreciated him more when he was with Pittsburgh because I'm a Baltimore fan, of course, and it's like, I want to just hate all the Steelers. Antonio Brown is a beast, and he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the best wide receivers I've ever watched, and he is still doing it at age 33. Moving on to number 99, James Bradberry. Now, I want to focus your attention to the top right. We have a rocket emoji. Why do I have a rocket emoji? Because James Bradberry is going to jump into the top 50 next year. Now, he's not there yet. He's new to the top 100. And I got some pushback on this. Just the one-time Pro Bowler. He's had several good seasons with Carolina, but this was his first with New York now. This was his first standout, truly elite season. Deserving Pro Bowler. I don't remember if I necessarily voted him in my bracket or in my ballot, but I had Ramsey, Darius Williams, and Jair. But tremendous player. Very consistent, but he took a big step up into that elite category. Cornerback play is so volatile, and he's been really solid. So I hope he does it again, and I think he will do it again, hence the rocket emoji up there in the corner. Absolutely stellar player. One of the big reasons why the Giants had an awesome defense last season. Number 98, we're staying with the cornerback theme here. J.C. Jackson, New England Patriots. New to the top 100, hasn't made an All-Pro, hasn't made a Pro Bowl. And I understand the pushback's going to come with, well, it's just the interceptions. No, it's not just the interceptions. He gets interceptions in kind of the Xavier Howard way of getting interceptions, that it's not because it's not, he's a better player. He puts himself in the situation to get a lot of interceptions. Even if he had two, he's putting himself in a position to have a lot of pass deflections, make a lot of great plays. Now, yes, he did get burned by Stefan Diggs, but one thing I want to point out as like a theme of these is there are going to be players here that may not even be the best player on their own team. Like J.C. Jackson isn't the best cornerback on his own team. Sorry for the spoiler, but he plays a role in New England in that Belichick defense so well as a cornerback too, that I understand he gets cooked by Stefan Diggs, another guy in the top 100. I get it. Everyone gets cooked by Stefan Diggs. Everyone gets cooked by the wide receivers on this list because they're so friggin' good, and I just want to throw it out there that when you play a role like J.C. Jackson does in New England at such a high level like he does, it is truly insane. And there's a reason he has 14 interceptions in the last 2 years. There's a reason he's been, I think, number 3 in interceptions each of the last 2 years. I guess he was second last year, and then was one behind Gilmore and White, and maybe one other person in 2019. Insane ball skills, insane athleticism. Just a credit to New England. He was undrafted too. Credit to New England there. Number 97, jumping over to the other side of the ball, perhaps the most underrated player in the NFL, DJ Moore. So when I was doing research for this, I came across a stat. No wide receiver has more receiving yards in both 2019 and 2020 than DJ Moore. The only player in general to do that is Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce is way up high on this list. DJ Moore is doing this with PJ Walker, Kyle Allen, Will Grier, Cam Newton. Are you kidding? And Teddy Bridgewater. Are you kidding me? And he has to do with this year with Sam Darnold. So I posted a bevy of stats about Moore on the app that trash the quarterback play, and it's how is DJ Moore this productive? He has about 2,300 yards over the last 2 seasons. Absolutely insane. So if you're based on pure talent, not situation, DJ Moore probably should be higher, and I hope he has a big time season this year. Number 96, we have a New York Jet, Marcus May, the Jamal Adams sort of replacement. They were drafted together in 2017. May was a second-round pick. Adams was the first-round pick. I thought May had a shot at being a Pro Bowler last year, but it was such a great season from other safeties that are going to come up soon that it's just tough that being the 4th or 5th best safety in the AFC isn't all that bad. It's say Lamar Jackson could be quarterback 4 in the AFC, but he's still a really good quarterback. May is one of the most well-rounded players statistically, and the film matches that. He's a great tackler, plays the run well. He's good in coverage. He can rush the passer a little bit. He's not asked to do that a whole lot. Nothing like what Jamal Adams does with the Seahawks now, but he's just a very well-rounded player and took a big step up in 2020. Number 95, we have our first All-Pro of the section, Jack Conklin, the right tackle for the Cleveland Browns, one of the incredible additions of the 2020 offseason. He's a 2-time All-Pro, made it as a rookie in 2016 and made it last year. He's played a lot of snaps. And one thing that I really like about Conklin is that there's not really a drop off. He's a really good pass protector. He's a really good run blocker. So every snap he's going to be, I don't want to say elite every single snap. There are better tackles than Conklin, but there are a few that are as consistent on a down-to-down basis as Jack Conklin. He did it in Tennessee for 4 years, and he did it last year with Cleveland. He's an exceptional player, and he was a top 10 pick for a reason. And I think that was a slam dunk pick by Tennessee, even though he only had the one All-Pro with them and didn't make a Pro Bowl. But he's an exceptional player, and he's a big reason why I think Cleveland wins the AFC North this year. Number 94, Marcus Peters, cornerback, Baltimore. Like I said with J.C. Jackson, if you play a role well enough, I will accept that you're not the best corner on your own team or the best receiver on your own team or the best whatever position on your own team. Marcus Peters, I said it when he was traded to Baltimore that he is like a Walmart version of Ed Reed, and I got clowned for it. And then he had 200 yards of interception return yards and had 6 interceptions. So I get the pushback that you don't want to compare him to a Hall of Famer, but the things that Marcus Peters does with the ball in his hands are uncanny. He is a running back when he catches the football. There are a lot of players in the NFL that kind of screw up, like they fall down or they're not getting the most of an interception. It's more like, yeah, I got the interception, then they just fall down. Marcus Peters tries to turn it into pick sixes, tries to make big plays. I have it mentioned 814 interception return yards. That's insane. I think top 25 ever. And last year, playmaker, 4 picks, 9 pass deflections, 4 forced fumbles. He's one of 2 players in the NFL with both 4 interceptions and 4 forced fumbles last year. And that's just in 14 games. 2-time All-Pro, once with the Chiefs, once with the Ravens last year, 3-time Pro Bowler. I get that he can be burned. I get it. I watch enough Baltimore that Marcus Peters sometimes gets his lunch money stolen. I get it. But he is asked to play a role in Baltimore that he's the cornerback too. He doesn't have to go up against the Diggses of the world and the Hopkins of the world and the other wide receiver ones. And yeah, that's a knock against Peters. But what he does do at such an exceptional level, there is no better cornerback two in the NFL than Marcus Peters. There is a better cornerback in his own division by the name of Denzel Ward, his second appearance in the top 100, 2018 Pro Bowler. And the talent here is probably higher than 93. But as you look down, 2020, he played 12 games. He's played 37 of 48 games in his NFL career. Health is an issue. Probably could have put like a hospital emoji up in the corner. But when Denzel Ward is on the field, he is a top 5-ish corner. It's hard to pick corners that are always top 5 outside of like Ramsey, because it's such a volatile position, and like one bad snap can, like one bad highlight, one bad clip that you see can like overshadow everything. This is what I touched on with JC Jackson. Yeah, he got torched by Stefan Diggs. What about the other 15 games that he played that he was awesome? So with Ward, he's been incredibly consistent at a position that is hard to be consistent at. Just overall an exceptional player, good tackler, makes a lot of plays in that Cleveland secondary, and he got a lot of help this offseason. Number 92, this one I'm going to get some pushback for. Tom Brady, the GOAT. But there's a difference for me. There's always been a difference between the greatest and the best. Tom Brady is not the best quarterback in the NFL. He is the greatest, but he's not the best. 3-time All-Pro. I think that's a 14-time Pro Bowler. Yeah, 14. 830 touchdown seasons. Yeah, all that attributes to his greatness, not his, best, being the best. He did have a 92 PFF grade last year, and PFF really loved what he did. He had the highest big time throw rate of his career, and the lowest interception or the lowest turnover worthy play rate in the NFL, which is insane. Like Tom Brady's doing that at 43, and he has all the weapons to work with too. And so like the throws themselves were awesome, and then he has a tremendous bevy of weapons and a good offensive line and good running backs. Good coaching. Overall, just insane. I'm probably too low on Brady. I'm going to acknowledge that. There's an argument he should be higher than some of the quarterbacks ahead of him, but I like him here. I think he deserves to be in the list. I don't think like the NFL's actual list, he's going to be in the top 10. I disagree with that, but I think it's fine here. And again, all of these players are at a certain tier, right? And they are all sensational players. I'm not taking this away from anyone. All of them are great in their own right. There are guys that aren't on this list that are great. And you guys can find those out at the end, but I'm going to have Brady here at 92 to match his PFF grade. Number 91, Amari Cooper. If he wasn't on the Cowboys, I think he would be considered one of the most underrated players in the NFL. No one really matches the production that he gives you every year. He has 5 1,000-yard seasons in 6 years. And one of those he was with like Vegas, right? Or with Oakland at the time. He's the only player with 5 receiving touchdowns in the last 6 years. Now, granted, that's a pretty low bar to clear, but he clears it with such consistency. And when you talk about traits, Cooper has a standout trait, his route running. He is one of the best route runners in the NFL. Depending on what week it is, I might even say he's the best route runner in the NFL. And if you say he's the best, I'm not going to clown you for it. I think it's a perfectly valid opinion to have. And he's figured out the drops. Last year, he had a drop rate under 3%, which is really, really good. And that was always the issue when he was with Oakland in early days, when he was at Dallas, that, he's going to get open, but he drops it. To me, there's going to be some guys on this list that have drop issues. There's I think the number one wide receiver on my list is a guy that you would say has drop issues, but it doesn't matter when he's always open. And with Cooper gets as open as anyone in the NFL. So with that said, there's my top 10. Cool. So everyone good. Everyone good. No comments, no questions, no concerns. We're all good. We can proceed. All right. We will proceed to number 90. Brian Burns. We have another rocket ship emoji. Let me get a drink of water first. Brian Burns. I talked about it with traits with Amari Cooper. Brian Burns is probably the best speed rusher in the NFL. Now, he can't convert it to power, and he's not going to – the more agile tackles can beat Brian Burns. But Burns has one thing that he can go to, and it always works. It almost always works. He's awesome at it. He had 9 sacks last year. He's a guy that probably should get 10 to 12 this year. Had a really strong PFF grade last season, 77. And again, well-rounded players are cool, but when you have that it factor that can set you over the edge, like Brian Burns does with Carolina, it is a really special thing to behold. Like I said with Cooper, route running, like I'm going to say with a lot of players coming up, that he does one thing at a really, really, really good level. So just think, Burns is one of the more one-trick pony players on this list, and he's still number 90. So there's a big reason why there's a rocket ship up there in the corner. That's like, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with if he figures out how to play the rest of the game at a high level, fix the run defense a little bit, better tackling, and can convert some of that speed to power. He's an exceptional player without doing that. He's that good, and he's such a physical specimen. 89, Kenny Galladay, wide receiver. He moved up. I know it's going to seem weird. There are some weird move up, move down based on how they played in 2020. Kenny Galladay only played 5 games, and it didn't feel like he was uber productive. I get it, but when you're injured and you only play 5 games, you're not going to have the kind of production you want. He was he was a Pro Bowler in 2019, deserving Pro Bowler, led the NFL in receiving touchdowns with 11. And I want to point out at the bottom, led the NFL in contested catch conversion rate. He was 10 for 13, over 75%. He had 1 game against the Falcons, 6 targets, 6 contested targets, 6 contested catches. How many guys are doing that in the NFL? So again, skill set matters, and I think Daniel Jones is going to love him some Kenny Galladay. I can understand the argument for, like, say, an Antonio Brown or a DJ Moore over Galladay, but I think Galladay has such a trump card that we call them 50-50 balls. Galladay turns them into 70-30 balls as consistently as anyone else in the NFL. Number 88, Von Miller did not play at all last season, and he kind of slipped in 2019. So you do see 2019 Pro Bowler. Yes, you do. But he wasn't Von. He wasn't Super Bowl MVP Von. He wasn't 3-time All-Pro Von. He still a solid run defender, still a solid pass rusher, but now he's more of the beta guy behind another guy on this list. But I don't want to jump the ship from Von because he's going to be a savvy veteran. He's going to defend the run. He's going to be able to finish some sacks. He's going to get plenty of pressures. I just think we've seen the end of elite Von Miller, but we can see a pretty good Von Miller this year and moving forward. 87, Marshawn Lattimore. Very much a love him or hate him player. I've never been the biggest fan of Lattimore, but I think I'm higher on him than most, oddly enough. I do want to touch on the 54 PFF grade. Cornerback is incredibly volatile. It happens. In big moments, Lattimore is as good as it gets. Like one-on-one with Mike Evans. Mike Evans is doing nothing, and Mike Evans is higher on this list than Marshawn Lattimore. Playmaker at the cornerback position, Lattimore is up there. He's had 4 different seasons with 10 pass deflections. He had 2 picks, 11 pass deflections last year. Just an incredible player. Does he have his moments that he flips off? Yeah, of course. But when he's on, he's on. Number 86, Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle up in Houston. Pending a certain Deshaun Watson. Could be the best player in Houston, but for now, he's the second best player. Two-time Pro Bowler. I think he deserved it more in 2019 than 2020, but that's okay. He started 72 of 80 games. He is a guy that does have a split in pass protection and run blocking. For the first half of 2020, he was really, really good at both, and he was one of the best pass protectors in the NFL, and was a pretty solid run blocker. He slipped middle of the year. That's one reason why he's not 43 anymore. And one reason I didn't have him in my Pro Bowl ballot, but hey, it happens. He's still an okay run blocker, and he's a really good pass protector. And I didn't realize this. He was originally traded for the pick that became Jack Conklin back in 2016. So I thought that was a fun fact that I could throw in. Number 85, we have a rookie, or I guess a second-year player now, Chase Young. I don't have the rockin' emoji here, but it really, everything I'm going to say applies. Was a Pro Bowler. I don't know if he was deserving, but was a Pro Bowler, number 2 pick in 2020, excellent player. 7.5 sacks. It's probably going to be more moving forward. He's going to be a 10 sack guy for a long time. That 87 PFF grade. Chase Young is one of the most well-rounded edge players in the NFL. And I think that I've talked about having that one go-to trait. Chase Young has like 10. He can be the best pass rusher in the NFL. And there are weeks that he's the best run defending edge in the NFL. Like, he is such a well-rounded player. And I'm really excited to see him moving forward with that uber talented defensive line they have up there in Landover. Brandon Graham, 84, just one spot ahead of Chase Young, finally made a Pro Bowl in 2020. So congratulations. Brandon Graham is the classic player that the pressures have never matched the sacks. It just is weird that he's consistently among the NFL leaders in pressures, but he has like 7 sacks. And he's like, he only had 7 sacks. That's not very good. And even last year he had 8 sacks, and that's just, well, he was really good. What happened? He converted some of those pressures into sacks. He's a classic, pocket pusher. Baltimore loves these guys. New England loves these guys. That when he gets pressure, it is impactful pressure. He may not get the sack, but he's forcing errant throws. He's forcing interceptions. He's forcing incompletions. He's forcing throwaways, whatever it may be. So I think Graham is incredibly underrated, and I need to stop throwing around that underrated term, because I could have very well thrown him up at like 80 if I wanted to. But exceptional player, and he's been doing it for a long time as well. Number 83, Ryan Tannehill. Physically, Tannehill's great. Like, the arm talent is there. The ability to like play action is great. Improvisation is great. He's like kind of a mix of, like, he has the athletic traits, some of the athletic traits of like a Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. And then he has like the quarterback talent of like he's like maybe 80%, maybe not 80%, but he like takes some from like the pure pocket passers, and he molds it really well. And he's now helped by the scheme, yes, and helped by Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, yes, absolutely. But I think people kind of sleep. I think that people sleep on Tannehill. He's exceptional. He does a lot of things really well. He doesn't have that A+ trait that a lot of quarterbacks do, and even Brady had at 92. But there is a reason that he led the NFL in passer rating and with the 117.5. And the Titans had one of the most efficient passing offenses in the NFL. Last year, he had another strong season, 90 PFF grade. Exceptional player. I can understand some pushback because he doesn't have an A+ trait. Every other quarterback on this list has an A+ trait or several. But I think Tannehill at 83 is perfectly apt. 82, Bradley Chubb, the number 1 edge in Denver, 12 sacks in his rookie season last year. Not quite as productive, but not having Von Miller hurts a little bit there. The physical specimen, I said this with Brian Burns. I said physical specimen. Chubb is more of like a power guy than a speed guy, but it works. He was a Pro Bowler last year, deserving Pro Bowler last year. And he's a guy that, again, I could have had a rocket emoji here. I think he's going to be super productive for a long time. He was number 6 pick for a reason, number 5 pick for a reason. Excellent player. We have another Raven, number 81, Mark Andrews. I don't think he actually didn't make the NFL top 100, which I think is a little ridiculous. in terms of like filling a role, Mark Andrews is a perfect number one option for the Ravens because he is so good at what Lamar Jackson needs. And I'll talk about Lamar in a little bit, but he's so the zone instincts that he has, his ability to like, I don't know if there are actual option routes in the Ravens, like, playbook. Like if Coach Harbaugh or OC Greg Roman says, "Hey, Mark, you're going to run an option route here." I don't know if they're actual option routes, but the way he and Lamar can work zone coverage is just kind of jaw dropping. It's one of the most impressive things that two players can do in unison. It's like synchronized swimming, but synchronized like reading of leverage, reading of coverage. Just it's perfect. It's beautiful. And I know the issues with the hands, but those tend to, it's like with Amari Cooper, they come in clumps. He's not dropping a pass every week. He has 3 drops in the one game you watch Baltimore, right? When you watch the Chiefs game, he had 3 drops. He's not good. He's not good. No, he's fine. He had 1 bad game, and I'm not going to bash a guy for having 1 bad game. So with that said, we're 10 more in. So again, if you have any questions, make sure to drop a comment. Make sure you like the stream, subscribe to the channel. We are accepting donations. So if you want to drop a donation, I'd love to hear it. Love to shout you out on the show. You can follow UStadium on Twitter and Instagram at UStadium, and you can follow me at Mr. Splashman19. So let's jump back in. I'm going to take one more water break as we unveil number 80. Stefan Tuitt is just a beast. Second in pressures last year behind Aaron Donald among interior guys. That's insane. Like granted, Aaron Donald had 27 more, and I know you're going to say, well, he had Dupree and he had Watt and he had Hayward. I get it, but you have to capitalize on the pressures, and he did. And he forced 71 pressures, 11 sacks, 10 TFLs. And even this is probably like his lower year, even by PFF standard. He had like 380 plus PFF grades coming into this, and he has a super productive 75.7 and exceptional player. The pressures are there, the sacks are there, the production is there, and he's an awesome run defender. He's a reason why I don't think Pittsburgh drops off very much from losing Bud Dupree, because you have such depth at other positions that you have 3 A+ or maybe not A+, but you have 3 A pass rushers with Dupree gone now. So I don't know. I hate that it's a Steeler, but exceptional player. Number 79, DK Metcalf, wide receiver, Seattle Seahawks. He's number 22 in the NFL top 100. I think that's you're just buying into the hype, I think, too much. 2020 Pro Bowler, had 1,300 yards last year, and he is a historically relevant playoff performer. I want to throw that out there. And he's one of 3 active players to have 2,200 yards and 17 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons with OBJ and AJ Green. And like some other players I mentioned, the Brian Burns of the world, one trait can put you over the top and can let you win at the highest level. DK Metcalf, from an athletic point of view, if you are starting a football game with aliens, right, and it's just about pure, like an all-athlete team. You want the 11 best athletes in the world on your team, 11 best football player athletes in the world on your team. DK Metcalf is one of your 11 choices. He's one of your 11 choices. I know he can't run routes. I'm aware. I still had him in my top 10 in the 2019 draft. It's like at Jacksonville, take him at 7. Take him at 7. And they didn't. He filled out, 64. So I get the limitations with Metcalf. I understand. Calvin Johnson had the same limitations. Julio Jones had the same limitations. You don't have to run a diverse route tree to be one of the most productive wide receivers in the NFL. And I should have put a scheme alert here. The scheme that Seattle is going to have, they're going to run a lot of 11 personnel, a lot of what the Rams did, right? DK Metcalf is going to be hilariously good this season. He's going to be a lot higher than 79 next year. And it's going to be scary. He might be in play for 20 touchdowns, even 1,500 yards, 20 touchdowns. I wouldn't put it past Metcalf. We have another Seattle player, Jamal Adams, safety. You want to call him linebacker, whatever. You want to call him an edge, whatever. He was actually top 20 the last 2 years. He was number 9 last year, 2019 All-Pro, deserving All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler now. I didn't really think he deserved it this year, but that's okay. He has had 3 incredible seasons pass rushing, which, okay, I understand you see safety up there, and then you see 9.5 sacks, and you're like, what? But his ability to impact the game in several ways matters. And I do want to throw out that he was a good coverage player in 2019. He was like one of the better coverage safeties in the NFL. Now, granted, he was playing more of a strong role than a free role. So it's a little bit different from like what a Jesse Bates does or Minka does. But he still did it at a high level. And I think he will get back to that in year 2 with Seattle. So I can understand some people not having him in the top 100, but I think the track record speaks for himself. And I think he was still a productive player last year, even if it came in a different way than you want from a safety. 77, Corey Linsley. I will be totally honest. He was not on my radar at all coming into last season. I'm like, okay, Frank Ragnow is the best center in the NFL. Cool. And then Linsley was awesome. Like if you look at PFF grades, now granted, PFF, grain of salt, and I'm using it on every slide, but a grain of salt with PFF, there was no larger gap between player 1 and player 2 at a position than Corey Linsley at center. He was ridiculous. He was an elite center. He was a deserving All-Pro. I would have voted for Ragnow, but I am a big fan of Frank Ragnow. Linsley's great. Huge addition by the Chargers, adding him to be the pivot man in the offensive line. So big seasons for the Chargers, and Linsley can have another Pro Bowl season or another All-Pro season, maybe add that first Pro Bowl. He can jump even higher. Number 76, Mr. Tavita Tuli Aka Ono Tui Piloto Moses Vahai Fahoko Faletuvea. Got that on the first try. Nice. Exceptional player. I know he only played 5 games. I know the 90 PFF grade is only 5 games. I get it. I understand. But the impact that he has on a game, Tampa has a good run defense. Otherwise, he makes that defense flip a switch. He gets it from like a really good run defense, like in my eyes, the second best in the NFL behind the Jets. He turns it into 2000 Ravens. He does. He is such an impactful player, and he was now the last year as a pass rusher too. So as a pass rusher, he's one of the best interior guys in the NFL. As a run defender, he is in the A tier of guys. Just an exceptional all-around player, and I wish he had played more than 5 games, and I wish he had been able to like be on the field and win the Super Bowl with Tampa last year. So exceptional player. Also, he had 1 rushing touchdown in 2019. The entire Jags team had 3. Fournette had 3. So, hey, they're teammates now. So, number 75, Mr. Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. He was number 27 last year, 2019 All-Pro, 2019 Pro Bowler, 2019 NFL unanimous MVP, led the league in passing touchdowns, led the league in QBR. And even last year was gnarly, a 99 passer rating, 1,000 rushing yards, 33 total touchdowns, 81.5 PFF grade. Finally won a playoff game. So why is Lamar here? Why is he not higher? Because when you're quarterback 7, spoiler, you can only be so high because this is a like skill at a position. So think of it kind of like an OPS plus or closer, maybe like a WAR than anything else. So the number 1 player on this list is better at his individual position than Lamar Jackson is at his position. Does that make sense? So every 74 guys ahead of Lamar Jackson are better at their position than Lamar Jackson is at quarterback. So again, this isn't like a most valuable list, because if it's a most valuable list, Lamar's 3 or 4. But it's a best list, and I think there are 74 better players at their own position than Lamar Jackson. But even then, that's a 95 overall in Madden. Come on now. Let's back away from the ledge. I think Lamar can definitely jump back up into that conversation of being a top 3 quarterback. He needs to have a touch more consistency. I've hammered it home that his thing is he throws a catchable, inaccurate football. So it's catchable. Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown, Sammy Watkins, Rashad Bateman will catch the passes unless they drop them. But they can catch the ball, but it's not in a position that yields extra yards after the catch, like a Tom Brady does, like an Aaron Rodgers does. That's one step in the evolution. He's going to be the best running quarterback in the NFL. He is probably the best running quarterback ever. He is such a dynamic runner of the football that even if he was just a running back and not a quarterback, he'd probably be in the top 100. But his value as a quarterback, I've said it, if he's the 17th best passer in the NFL, that's a top 10 quarterback because of what he does in terms of the run game, because he makes it 11 on 11. And I know that seems cliche that, it's every play is 11 on 11. It's not an 11 on 11 play when Tom Brady hands the ball off and he's 10 yards away from anything. It is 11 on 11 when Lamar Jackson's carrying the football, Gus Edwards is blocking, Patrick Ricard is blocking, and all the receivers are blocking. That's 11 on 11. If Lamar Jackson makes one guy miss, he can take it to the house. So Lamar Jackson comes in at 75. 74, rocket ship emoji dealer, Jeffrey Simmons. I don't know how far of a limb this is. He's going to be an all-pro this season. Just wait, just watch. He's going to be a big reason why Tennessee wins the division and could even win the Super Bowl. Who knows? 2 years, just small. I get small sample size. There's a reason he was a top 5 prospect in the 2019 draft until he tore his ACL. He is incredibly powerful. He is going to have a Chris Jonesian jump as a pass rusher. That's hence the rocket ship, and I think he's going to be a top 30 player. But as of right now, he's a very good pass rusher, and he is an awesome run defender, and he is the best player on that Tennessee defense. Now, granted, it's not a very good Tennessee defense. I never said that, but the value he brings as both a run stopper and a pass rusher is there's few guys in the NFL that do it as well as he does. So I don't know if you can even bet on like if a guy's going to be an all-pro, but I would put $10 on Jeffrey Simmons being an all-pro this season. 73, Mike Evans. Wide receiver, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 7-time 1,000-yard guy. No one's ever done that. Well, guys have done it, but no one had ever done it in their first 7 seasons. He did. But I will caution you with the production, such as 1,000 yards. Notice he had 1,006 yards. That's a pretty arbitrary number. I'm going to talk about this with a guy that's actually coming up very soon. Arbitrary numbers annoy me. So like having like 1,000 yard plateau. What's the difference between 993 yards and 1,006? One catch. So 3-time Pro Bowler. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I would have him in the Hall of Fame one day. Just the physicality that he plays with, the ball skills, he and Brady are surprisingly a really good connection when you think, oh, Brady's just going to dink, dink, dink. Nope. Brady has an arm still at 44. So exceptional combination. And, it makes it a trio, 72 Chris Godwin. Now, why do I have Godwin over Evans? I think you have a more diverse profile. Godwin can do a lot for your team. He can be productive from the slot. He can be productive from the outside. He's a good route runner. He is very physical. He can win contested catches, but he can also get open at a high level. Mike Evans isn't quite the separator, isn't quite the intermediate threat. Still obviously, both of them are awesome, both top 73 players. So with that said, yeah, it's this is a loaded Tampa Bay roster. And even look at the production. He would have had 1,000 yards and again, 1,000-yard cutoff, but 80 PFF grade 4 years in a row. That's hard to do. That's really hard to do. And shout out to Chris Godwin. Moving on to 71, another NFC South player, Grady Jarrah. I understand some people will overrate him because he had that awesome game in the Super Bowl and people don't want to watch the interior, but he is perhaps the only redeeming player on the Atlanta defense. And like I said with Jeffrey Simmons, it's about having a well-rounded impact for some guys. For other guys, there are guys going to be guys higher on the list that do one thing at such a ridiculous level that, they just deserve to be there. Grady Jarrah is a really strong run stopper in the middle, even though he's a little on the lighter side of interior guys, but he can still defend the run. But he is a awesome pass rusher. He's on the obviously not Aaron Donald tier, but if Donald is S tier, I think Jarrett's on the A tier of pass rushers from the interior, and he's like a solid enough run defender that he deserves to be here. He's made the last 2 Pro Bowls. Shout out to the former 5th round pick, Mr. Grady Jarrah. So again, make sure you like the stream, subscribe to the channel. You can follow U Stadium on Twitter and Instagram. at UStadium, and you can follow me at Mr. Splashman19. So with that said, I'm going to go into another little water break, and I'll unveil number 70. Dak Prescott, ladies and gentlemen, comes in at number 70. I can see the pushback already. Why is he over Lamar Jackson? Well, I think consistency-wise, I would take Dak over Lamar. If I'm making a tier list, I might have Lamar in a higher tier, but it's a different kind of tier. It would be like kind of comparing like a slot receiver to a normal wide receiver, right? Like a perimeter wide receiver. Like you're not asking them to do the same thing. So Lamar is more of a volatile superstar in my eyes, and Dak is more of a steady star. He has a couple weeks here and there that he can be a superstar caliber guy, but his ability to extend the play, his like brain is really advanced. He is one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL. And I don't really care about the production. I mentioned it, or I put it on the slide, so it helps you guys understand like how productive he was last season. But even more so than the production, I think that just the brain is there. He's going to make the right play. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He had some value in the running game. Just an all-around good quarterback. Like if you're drafting, like there were 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. If you drafted Dak Prescott, you're pretty happy. And now we have number 69. Nice. Budda Baker, one of the most versatile players in the NFL. He's one of the handful of guys that have made the All-Pro team at 2 positions. Shout out to him. So 2017 as a special teamer and last year as a safety. I didn't think he deserved it as a safety, but hey, at Pro Bowler, deserving Pro Bowler there. He did have the longest interception return last year. Yes, it is the DK Metcalf play. He is not unlike Jamal Adams, actually, with his ability to do a lot of things at a high level, that he can play that free safety role really, really well. He can play that strong safety role really, really well. He can, be physical at the line of scrimmage. He can drop down, be a box safety. He can play that Earl Thomas role as well. So just a well-rounded player. The NFL, I think, overrates him a little bit. He was in the top 10. He was in the top 20 of the NFL top 100. I'm not that high on Budda, but he's an exceptional player. Number 68. Now, this is a guy I'm really high on. And this, I could have had 10 rocket ship emojis and it wouldn't do it justice. Daniel Hunter is a freaky edge from Minnesota. He didn't play last year. That's annoying, but he had 3 10 pressure games in 2019. Aaron Donald really doesn't do that, right? The things that Hunter does, he has 29 sacks over the last 2 seasons that he's played. He's a good run defender, but there are times that he is the best pass rusher in the NFL. And we're getting into that now that we're going to stumble across some players that may be the best player at their position in a given week. That can consistently be the best player in the world at their position. Now, there are random guys that are going to be the best player of the week. Actually, one of the guys against Minnesota, Jeremy Chin, had an exceptional game. He was the best safety that week, but that's not every week. Daniel Hunter can be, for like a month or two, could be the best player in the NFL, or could be the best edge in the NFL. Sorry. Number 67, my right tackle one from last year, Tristan Wurfs. Didn't make the All-Pro team, didn't make the Pro Bowl. Could have. He played every single snap. That's impressive. I know offensive linemen are supposed to play every snap, but it's impressive nonetheless. He was the best player in the Super Bowl. Point blank. He was the single best player in the Super Bowl. He made so many key blocks. This gave Brady that extra 10th of a second to get the ball out. Gave Fournette and Rojo that extra 10th of a second. He was exceptional, and he was exceptional all year, from week 1 against Cameron Jordan all the way to game 20, almost 5 months later. Tristan Wurfs was unbelievable. It was just from week 1 to week, I guess technically 21, right? Or week 22 if you want to count the Pro Bowl week. Sensational. Every single week. It's hard to get that sort of consistency from a rookie, but Tristan Wurfs was that consistent stud every single game. Speaking of, Cameron Jordan, number 66. He's not quite what he once was. He's not quite 2017 All-Pro caliber, but what he is really, really well-rounded. And he's never missed a game, which is quite impressive for being as physical as he is. He is one of the best run defending edges in the NFL. He's on that TJ Watt tier of edge defenders in terms of stopping the run. And he's also has always been a productive pass rusher. He's going to, I believe next year he can get to 100 sacks. Just overall, again, there's going to be some guys that have that one skill that puts them over the top. Cameron Jordan could argue he is that run defending edge. He is phenomenal, and he's still a very strong pass rusher. 65, Justin Jefferson, I believe the highest rookie. He's only one of 3 rookies. 2020 Pro Bowler, 1,400 yards. Randy Moss didn't do that in Minnesota. Just think about the production there. But what Jefferson does, he's already a top 10 route runner. He is, that means that gives him supreme separation skills. His release package on the line of scrimmage, you can't touch him. It is insane how often he gets open immediately, right? There are very few things you can do. And if he had played week 1 and week 2 as the wide receiver 2, which in Minnesota, they run a lot of 12 personnel. So they're going to have 2 wide receivers on the field 90% of the time, right? Maybe not that much, but they're going to have 2 wide receivers on the field a lot. So if it's Thielen and Jefferson is actually the better wide receiver, then okay, that's why he gets most of his 1,400 yards in 14 games. So hopefully he recovers from, I think, collarbone injury, something like that. He was spectacular last year. 64, Jayla Jones, not spectacular last year, only a 62 PFF grade. The pass rushing should still be there, and if you notice the trend in the All-Pros and the Pro Bowls, maybe he makes his 3rd Pro Bowl team in 2021. I don't know. He was number 11 last year. He had 19 sacks. Was it 19? Was it 17? He had a lot of sacks. He had, I think 1 year he had 19. The other year he led the NFL, had 17. Regardless, he is a awesome pass rusher. Now, beyond the pass rush ability, not bringing a whole lot, but he has an argument that he's the best pass rusher in the NFL, or number 2 to Myles Garrett in terms of edges, or TJ Watt's up there as well. But he's S tier pass rusher for the time being. Number 63, we have another S tier caliber player. That's AJ Brown in his ability after the catch. He walked into the NFL and was perhaps the best or second best, depending on how you view Deebo Samuel, at getting yards after catch. The physicality that AJ Brown plays with at 6'1", 200, maybe 210. The physicality he might be taller than that. I don't know. The physicality he plays with is so impressive. He is a running back with the football. It's if you turn Derrick Henry into a wide receiver, he would probably be AJ Brown. He is just flip on his touchdown against the Ravens. Either game, actually, either 2020 game against the Ravens. He had one that he beat Marlon in the end zone, and then he had one that he ran through the entire defense. Pick one. It's that is what AJ Brown does every single game. I know it's one highlight, but every single game he's balling out. Just an incredibly talented player. And I know there's limitations with the route running. He's not an A+ route runner. He's not an A+ separator. He's not the most physical when the ball's in the air. But when the ball is in his hands, no one is better in football than AJ Brown. 62, Scary Terry, rocket emoji. Also a guy that I have in my All-Pro team at the moment, whether that's second team or first team, who knows. He is like AJ Brown in some ways, same draft class, but flip the separation and the yards after catch ability. McLaurin's a great separator. He runs really strong routes. He has a great release package off the line of scrimmage. And he mixes in some of that, not really physicality, but he can run away from you, and he's going to generate a lot of yards after the catch. And he, like DJ Moore, gets bogged down because who's throwing him the football? Oh, yeah, Alex Smith. Alex Smith was awful last year. Or Kyle Allen. Oh, yeah, we talked about Kyle Allen with DJ Moore. McLaurin is exceptional. And do notice that he was the number 1 wide receiver out of the 2019 class, and I might get some pushback on that, but McLaurin is excellent, and I think he's going to be top 40 next year moving forward. Number 61, we have our first linebacker. That is Roquan Smith, linebacker for the Chicago Bears, the number 6 linebacker. He hasn't made an All-Pro team yet, hasn't made a Pro Bowl yet. He was a Sporting News All-Pro, which is I wanted to throw in there. Very versatile skill set. Had an 84 coverage grade last year, and I think you bring in a lot of.
Do you work here?
Mm-hmm.
You do? So this is closed until September?
It should be fine. Sorry about that. So 84 coverage grade last year is awesome, of course. So moving forward, you want him to develop more of that well-rounded skill set, running, tackling, run defense, things like that. But in the NFL nowadays, coverage matters so much that you can substitute that 67 PFF grade for like a 77 because he's so impactful as a coverage player. So with that said, let me take a little water break. Let me get a sip of water. Cool. All right, now we are almost done. We are into the, wow, I can't operate the computer fast enough. Okay, number 60, Teron Armstead, left tackle, New Orleans Saints. Like I said with Denzel Ward, if you play games, right, like if you miss games, sorry, like Denzel Ward does, like Teron Armstead does, there's a cap on how good you can be. But when you're Armstead or Denzel Ward and you are as good as they are, Armstead has 290 PFF graded seasons. It was 86 last season. When you are as good as that, it's okay that you miss a couple games here or there. So Armstead has been terrific for 10 years now, almost 10 years. I believe he was a former third-round pick. Third-round pick. So he's been consistent, but it's that 12 games of consistency. So to me, there is some value in being a top 5 left tackle for 12 games a year. There are going to be guys that are top 8 left tackles for 16 games a year, like Laramie Tunsil. He's had some injuries, but I think there's value in having 12 elite tackle games. So there's Teron Armstead. Number 59, Brandon Brooks. He didn't play at all last year, which is a shame. And I get the drop from 19 to 59, but remember, in the scope of like Madden ratings, he's dropping from a 98 to like a 96. I don't think that's a big deal. 3-time Pro Bowler, should have been an All-Pro in 2019. He would have been on my ballot. He was sensational in 2019, and he's also a big reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017. He was excellent throughout the playoffs. 92.8 PFF grade. Now, again, PFF, grain of salt, but exceptional run blocker, and he matches it with exceptional pass pro. It sucks that he missed all of last season, and it sucks that you may never see all-pro caliber Brandon Brooks again. But as of right now, I think he's one of the 60 best players in the NFL. Number 58, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is like the antithesis of Mike Evans. The last 4 seasons, Allen has been within 10 yards of a statistical milestone. So 1,400 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,000 yards. But that's one catch. If he has one extra catch, if Phillip Rivers / Justin Herbert throws one more pass in Allen's direction, he has 1,400 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,000 yards. To me, there is no difference in 992 and 1,006. And this is what I talked about with Devonte Adams last year, that he had 2 different seasons that he had 997 yards. But people were saying, oh, he's not a very good, he only has the 1,000 yard season. Are you kidding me? Like, are you actually having a laugh? So just kind of goofy all around there. So exceptional route runner. The physical tools, not really there. Just the route running savvy. Again, I talked about it with Jefferson. I talked about it with Cooper. Line of scrimmage, you can't touch Keenan Allen. You cannot stop Keenan Allen. He's good enough after the catch. He can get some yards here or there, but exceptional route runner. He's one of the guys that has an argument of being the best route runner in the NFL every time he steps out on the field. Number 57, another Saint, Demario Davis, deserving All-Pro in 2019. He's always been one of the most well-rounded linebackers. Took that to another level in 2019. Took a tiny step back last year, but Saints defense kind of took a step back as a whole. Lattimore wasn't great, as I touched on earlier, but Demario Davis is still an exceptional player. He's on the wrong side of 30 now, but he's been a consistent like do it all traditional like 3-down linebacker. And it's been really impressive to see because nowadays, you want like lighter coverage linebackers more than the thumpers, right? So like I'll use Baltimore as an example. Patrick Queen is never going to be a good run defender. Malik Harrison's never going to be good in coverage. They work well together though, in theory, when Queen can actually cover anything. But Demario Davis can fill both roles at a high level. And I think he's still a top 60 player. So moving on to number 56, Fletcher Cox, another Eagle. There was a decline. Did make his 6th Pro Bowl last year. Not quite as good as he was in his 2018 All-Pro season or in 2017 when he helped the Eagles win the Super Bowl. 74 PFF grade. But the high watermarks when he rushes the passer are still there. He has weeks that he's the number 2 pass rusher in the NFL behind Aaron Donald among interior guys. Now, Chris Jones is going to be 2 most weeks, but Fletcher Cox still has that upside that he is unblockable, right? You have to double team him. Sometimes you have to triple team him. Still a strong, a sturdy run defender, but that pass rushing upside is why he's here. 55, Wyatt Tyler. Now, I've talked at length about guys having a diverse skill set. Wyatt Tyler does not have a diverse skill set, but what he does do is run block, and he does it at such a ridiculous level that he, in my eyes, was a better guard than Zach Martin was last year. 93.6 run blocking grade. He had 2 games that he had a PFF grade in the 96s. 96. Brady has like 3 games ever with a 96. Like, come on now. I had a 92.9 grade last year. I know he only played 12 games, but he would have been on my All-Pro team, and he would have been on my Pro Bowl roster. Just when you can do something at such a dominant level, it doesn't matter that you're a league average pass protector. Actually, it kind of helps you out there. But oh my heavens, Teller is such a dynamo in the run game that as much as I love Nick Chubb and as much as I like Kareem Hunt, even though they're Browns, Wyatt Teller was a big reason why Cleveland took a step up, and he's a big reason. Again, like I said with Jack Conklin, big reasons why I think the Browns win the division for the first time ever. First time ever AFC North title. Number 54, Allen Robinson. New to the top 100, which I was a little surprised to see. It's been 6 years now since he's a Pro Bowler. Surprising. He had that 1,400-yard season with Jacksonville, then he tore his ACL week 1 the very next season. So that sucks. The man has played with 0 quality quarterbacks. He's like DJ Moore on steroids, just a different skill set than DJ Moore. He's more of a physical, 6'4", 6'3", physical ball winner type, although he does have some more possession-oriented things. I think he's a more well-rounded player than DJ Moore. But regardless, Robinson's exceptional, and it's kind of sad to think that Justin Fields is going to be the best quarterback he's played with. Rookie Justin Fields is probably the best quarterback he's ever played with. Actually, Andy Dalton is currently the best quarterback he's ever played with. Whoever starts week 1 for the Bears is going to be the best quarterback Allen Robinson has ever caught passes from. Number 53, we have the 2019 Defensive Player of the Year, Stefan Gilmore. He had 2 seasons in the top 20, and last year he slipped to number 6. Or last year he was up at number 6. This year he slides to 53. This is just he's really awesome still, but it's such a volatile position. And, I'm okay with being wrong on guys. If Gilmore is a top 10 player next year, I'm all for it. I love watching good football. I love watching good cornerback play in particular. If he's a top 10 player, I'll take the L and move on, but if he's not, okay. The athletic traits are still there. The instincts are still there. Zone man, they run a lot of man up in New England, so he's as good as a man cover corner as you're going to find. It's like he and Jair, right? And then Ramsey's more of a zone guy. So exceptional player all around there for Gilmore. And I do hope that he jumps back into that top 20 conversation. Again, I love watching good players. I love that a guy as accomplished as Stefan Gilmore, as good as Stefan Gilmore, can be number 53. Number 52, Nick Bosa. Now he moved up. Why? Oh, he only played 2 games. I will take the L on I knew he was good in the playoffs. I didn't realize how good he was, how historically dominant he was in the playoffs. He was, let me put it to you this way. San Francisco and Kansas City met in that Super Bowl. They have like 5 guys in the top 12, right? Nick Bosa was the best player in the Super Bowl. And for a 49ers team that was loaded with talent, he was the best single player in the entire playoff run. He was better than George Kittle. He was better than DeForest Buckner. He was better than Richard Sherman. He was better than Jimmy, obviously. But holy cow, this man was insane in the playoffs. Again, 22 pressures on 103 pass rush snaps. You just take a moment. Just the insanity there. He's going to be awesome. He's a great run defender. He's an awesome A tier, S tier potential pass rusher. There are very few edges that have A tier run stopping, A tier pass rushing. Nick Bosa is one of them. And our final player of this, that's like a little bit shorter than I thought it was. I think it's only been about an hour. Calvin Ridley, rocket emoji. I think I have a couple in the top 50 that are rocket emojis, but Calvin Ridley is another guy be on your all-pro radar. He had 1,374 yards last season. Keep in mind, Julio Jones still played 9 games for the Falcons last year. This man, not Diggs, not Hill, not Hopkins, not Jefferson, not any other, but he had 8 100-yard games in an offense that had Julio Jones. And, now you're bringing in Arthur. He's going to be awesome this year. He's going to be even better. For my money, Calvin Ridley is S-tier route runner. But what he does, I've talked about the release, but with Ridley, it is twitch. He is, when everything is going right, he is the best route runner in the NFL. He's better than Adams. He's better than Diggs. And here's why. The athletic tools that Ridley has, Diggs doesn't have, Adams doesn't have. The twitch, Devonte Adams is kind of like late Drew Brees, that he is so technically sound between the ears, like he knows what he's going to do. Ridley can do everything Adams can do, just be more like explosive with it, more athletic with it, more twitchy with it. It's like in Madden, I think they patched this recently, but in Madden, the way you move your joystick, just like left, right, you can like do little goofy moves, like when you have like a Michael Vick quarterback, Lamar Jackson quarterback, or Tyreek Hill, like 99 agility stuff. Calvin Ridley, in my eyes, is like 99 agility, maybe 98 agility. The man can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. He is just a sensational route runner, as clean of a separator as you get in the NFL, and he has the physical like twitchiness to make the most of it. Generate yards after the catch, turn like through 2 yards of open grass into a 70-yard touchdown. He's going to be a guy that there's a reason he's tied with, I think, DeAndre Hopkins for if you look at the odds, who's most likely to lead the NFL in receiving yards, there's a reason Calvin Ridley is there. So with that said, that has been my number 100 to number 51 in my top 100. You can send complaints to I really don't care. Send complaints to I don't really care at gmail.com. Make sure you like the stream, subscribe to the channel, follow UStadium on Twitter and Instagram at UStadium. You can follow me at Mr. Splashman19. This is actually surprising. It only went a little over an hour. In pre-planning, I thought, okay, this is going to be a 5-hour stream. I'm going to do 100 to 1. Turns out I can talk for a while, but I wanted to emphasize some of the things. I wanted to take like a moment and say, like, what Calvin Ridley does is top notch. So thank you guys for tuning in. This was, I thought it was really fun. I love talking football. I love getting to go. I don't know how deep I went into some of these guys, but I like talking about some of the nuances of why I have someone over another guy, why I have Dak over Lamar, because when you see, Dak over Lamar, you're a Ravens hater. It's like, I'm a Ravens fan, you moron. But I like to discuss some of the nuances, like why is Calvin Ridley at 51? Why do I think Terry McLaurin's better than DK Metcalf? Why, or AJ Brown? So I think overall, I like it. I was really, really happy with my top 100. I know it's not perfect. I know everyone's going to disagree with it, but for those that tuned in, I appreciate it. If you're watching on a playback, I appreciate it. You're great. Thank you so much for watching. And with that said, peace out.